that's Mr. Seth Joyner. Good morning, Seth.
What's happening, guys?
What you better at, man? Putting Seth versus Seth. Seth the linebacker, Seth the media guy. What are you better at?
Well, I mean, I understand the game a hell of a lot better now than I did when I played. No, always the football player.
Now, let me just say this to those who are listening. Seth just jammed something on the microphone, which I got to ding you for the media side. I mean, I'm pumping you up.
Hey, listen,
and
man.
then you just jammed the microphone. I mean, it's live radio,
I come
man.
in here, I got 2 sets of headphones that don't work. I can barely hear you. There's no cover on my mic. Come on, man.
No, I'm playing around. All right, Seth, we'll get to the Saquon stuff in a moment because there's a lot to do, and I'm sure you've been listening driving in. But let's just start with the game. What hit you, man, yesterday? I mean, they played a really good game. What hit you? Against a bad team, but what hit you?
Hey, listen, when you can have, quarterback 2 and quarterback 3 play as efficiently and as effective as they played, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I was most impressed with was the 2 young quarterbacks. 13 for 19, I believe it was, 197 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think that's pretty awesome to have your 2 backups to come in and play as efficiently as they played. And then, obviously, the defense.
Yeah, that was great.
That's 9 turnovers in 2 weeks, man. And I always talk about sacks and turnovers are things that come in bunches. And I hope they keep coming in bunches because this is the time of the year where they're going to need it the most.
Yeah, that was great. All right, let's get to the big one, Seth. Saquon Barkley. What to do week 18. You know the deal. You've heard it. Everyone knows it. You play him or not. I mean, Seth, what do you do here? Do you play Saquon? Do you not play Saquon? Which way do you go?
Joe, as a player, you never want to get caught up in the conversation of do you play or not. I think that sometimes the issue that you have with people who haven't played, people that don't play, is that athletes don't have that kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John's explained that many times. Yeah,
you just don't. Nobody in that locker room this morning is walking around talking about, oh, I got to keep myself healthy. Oh, I need rest. I mean, it's going to take 20 weeks of football for this team to win the Super Bowl. And then you got 32 weeks to heal up and rest and get ready for next year.
You're playing them.
I'm playing them. Listen, if Jalen Hurts is available this week, he's playing. See, I think
Jalen needs to get some reps out there. I'd love to see.
Thank you. 3 weeks
bring
is
him
a
up
long,
to speed. Yeah,
3 weeks is a long time to be away from the game and not playing. Because if he doesn't play this week, he's going to go into the game, into a playoff game. Okay, he's going to be rusty. Everybody's going to be, pissing and moaning about it. Play him because he hadn't played in almost 2 weeks now. So he needs to play and get his timing and his rhythm and his accuracy and all those things, honed in. I'm not saying he's got to play the whole game. I'm not saying that Saquon has to play the whole game. But this is historical. This is a historical situation. Is it
the biggest? So we were covering this earlier. We just went around the horn with different numbers and records. We tend to think it's the biggest regular season record in football. In your opinion, is it? You got sacks, you got touchdowns, you got yards thrown, you got rushing yardage in a season. I think it's the biggest one.
I think it's so huge because it's so hard to do.
And think how few times it's like the receptions record has probably gone. It's probably passed down many players over the last 30 years, I would guess. Marvin Harrison had a big one year. Maybe I don't know if he's still, I don't know who. I really don't know. I have no clue who holds the catches record. I think someone got to like 143 or something. I know this. This one has only shifted hands twice in like 2 years. That's when OJ got it. I don't know what it was before that.
Yeah.
That's rare, man.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. When you have something of this historical, significance, I mean, you just don't thumb your nose at that and be like, oh, he can go for it next year. or, oh, the most important thing, is the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is important. Don't get me wrong. But this is important. Going into the playoffs on a good note is important.
Yeah.
All right, let me
momentum. I know that there are people who say, hey, doesn't matter. I do feel like the way you're rolling or not makes a difference.
All right, let me ask a question, John, to you, because you guys are both strong on this one. Same plan. So, John, let me give you a scenario. And, Seth, you're probably going to hate me for saying this because I get it. And I hope you guys know, both of you know, I respect the player mentality. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying push that aside. But the player mentality is not the only mentality. There's the coach mentality. John, let me just give you a scenario. A key offensive lineman gets rolled up on in the first quarter. Like it's Dickerson, let's just say. I mean, James, I know that would freak you and a lot of people out.
Of course it would.
Most people, get him out! Get them all out now. And, that could happen. So, John, if that happens...
So you're gonna then
I'm just
resort
asking.
to panic and wholesale,
I'm asking. No. I mean, James, that's not unreasonable.
That's why I'm not even playing the guys. That's my whole point.
There's
I'm not
way.
even taking that risk.
I got one for you. No, Seth, I got one for you.
This is the same nonsense we go through on preseason. Oh, don't play him. Don't play him.
And we were right.
Don't
Look
play
at the
him.
Lions.
Don't
Look
play
at the
him.
Lions.
Get them to the first game, and then they go out there.
They're healthy though.
They go out there in week 1 or week 2, and you get 5 guys hurt in week 1 or week 2. So what's the point?
But
if they're going to get hurt, they're going to get hurt.
But week 18, the Eagles are very uninjured.
Stop it, man. Stop
it.
They are.
Stop it.
No, but Seth, that's real. Seth, let me throw one more at you, and then we'll go back to the phones. So I remember, and it was one of my favorite moments of your career. So whatever the old last game used to be called, week 17 or 16, depending on if there was a bye, whatever. All right, 91. You guys are trying to close out the season, the final game, knowing you can't make the playoffs because you just lost to Dallas. But you can get to 10 wins, and obviously the big thing was you can close out the season number 1 across the board in defense, run, pass, overall. All right. In that game, Washington is 14-1. They're headed to the postseason. They got the 1 seed. Rippin's playing. You take his face mask, and this is the only time I've ever seen this happen. You bent his face mask so bad it almost went into his face. And Joe Gibbs said, I am removing my quarterback from the football game, who, by the way, is on the way to winning the MVP and maybe the Super Bowl. And, of course, he did win the Super Bowl. He removed him from the game. Does that play a part in your mindset here that Joe Gibbs took Rippin out of the game and a month later won the Super Bowl?
If we were talking about my era of football, I would say yes. Because we played to punish you. We played to hurt you.
Yeah.
They don't play that brand of football anymore. Okay? Because the rules don't allow it. The rules don't allow it. The fines don't allow it. Okay? The penalties don't allow it. So, no. I mean, all of this rhetoric, it's a different game. And no player goes into the game with the mentality thinking about getting hurt. Because the thing you think about is the thing you bring about. So your focus has to be the game itself, not being injured. If you're not thinking that you're playing all out, then you're probably not playing all out, and that's where injuries happen, is when guys are dragging ass on the field. You just have to play the game, and the chips are going to fall where they may. You can talk about how healthy the Eagles are right now, but the Eagles have had their series of injuries just as much as any other team throughout the league.
Yeah, not as much as Detroit, though.
Well, Detroit is the anomaly.
Yeah.
And you have years, Joe. You have years like that. The Eagles have had years like that.
2018, they got decimated.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that you can do in a protective mode to protect your players. This theory that you can get the guys to the game doesn't mean that those guys are going to get through the game.
Well, there's two different things. There's getting injured, but there's also just being a little bit more worn for a playoff game.